Stacy,
Hi, can you hear me?
oh my God,
I had to move to, it wouldn't do it on my phone.
so strange. Okay, Instagram's going to give us a run for our money today. I see. This is going to be an interesting night, but it's okay. So, hey guys, Erica J.
Yeah.
Pierce here. We're having some fun technical difficulties, but it's okay because we're going to keep it moving. So, anyhow, welcome, Stacy.
Welcome.
Now
Welcome.
let me get myself together. So, hello, welcome guys to another episode of Let's Get Down to Biz. My name is Erica J. Pierce, growth mindset life coach. If you don't know me, small businesses hire me to help transform them into more self-empowered action takers. Because the truth is, a lot of times, small business owners struggle with fear and poor discipline and poor mindset. So, I help them to get from where they are to where they want to be a lot faster. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, on this episode today, we're going to talk to Miss Stacey Butler. And I don't want to mess this up. I'm going to let you explain who you are and what you do, but I'm going to try. So, she's a business system strategist and success coach. Yes. And she helps coaches. Helps coaches and solopreneurs who want to scale their business by simplifying and applying sustainable systems and processes. So, Miss Stacey, welcome. Tell us what does all that mean? Because I know what you do and I love it. So explain to everyone what that means.
Well, I mean, what it means is that basically I really help coaches and solopreneurs simplify their back office, right? There's lots of things that we have to do as business owners that sometimes we don't like, and that is sometimes just setting up our foundation for success when it comes to our business. Those finances, the customer journey, how we're going to market, who are we going to market to, all those things, and I really just help you simplify that down so it's really easy for you to get it done, right? Because when you are a solopreneur or you are really wearing a lot of hats in your business, and it's super, super important to get that foundation done so that you can do what you really love, which is either coaching or really helping your clients, really giving them the service and giving them a wow factor.
Yes, I love that. And that is so needed because you go into this thing not knowing how to make your life more simple and the information, so much information out there, it can drive you nuts. So it's nice to have someone you can go to that knows this stuff like the back of their hand and that can help guide you into the right direction.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Stacey, for being here tonight. How are you?
I'm good. I think one of the things that happened is we had that storm, and I've come down with some allergy or something. So I'm a little nasally, y'all, but that'll be okay. But yeah, I'm good. But so thank you, Erica, for having me.
No problem. Thank you for taking out the time in your night to spend with us. So, I want to start from the beginning. So, tonight's episode is about taking that leap and taking that leap of faith and deciding to leave your 9 to 5 to pursue your business full time. And you've done that. And I just want to know, I want you to share your story. How did you know? How did you know it was time? Let's start with that.
I don't really think there's a time, and I know this will be for some people. I had a plan. I wanted to be able to do something different. And so one of the things that I had started out on my journey is I had my, an exit strategy from my corporate job, right? And so I think this is super important is that you have a plan for what you really want to be doing and that you've set yourself up for success. So when you are ready, you're able to move forward. With ease, right? Because there's sometimes when, we have lots of things going. And so I had set on that journey. Um, with that being said, sometimes you get to that journey a lot sooner than you wanted. I had a strategy that I wanted to exit, X amount of time. And, due to all of the other things that were happening, I was just able to exit a lot sooner. And I had been going through a transition and I really wanted to, do coaching. And so that's how it started. And then, just as a solopreneur or, as a coach in general, this is about a journey. And, there are ups and downs with everything and starting a business. And so I've learned a lot through this process, and I help a lot of people through the process of transition.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
That's awesome. What made you decide that you wanted to help people to, um, you know, what made you decide you want to be a coach?
I think that there's always been a part of me that has been a coach. If I could think back to like when I was younger, and I used to give lessons. I always used to be that person that stepped up, the one that was always there to help people. And I think as I grew up, and I was leading different teams, and through my dance career and doing all those different things, I think there was just this innate thing about being a coach. And I really just always loved helping people. And I loved helping people get to that next step, right? Like to see the vision and to see them succeed in whatever that was. And I really wanted to be a mentor, and I really wanted to help others just figure out what you really want to be doing and really show you that is possible. Because I think a
Mhm.
lot of times we don't realize that what we really want to be doing in our dreams, it's not possible for us, but it is. Um, it's possible, right? Like, I mean, Audrey Hepburn said impossible, but it's not. It's I'm possible, right?
Right.
Like, and whether you're doing your full-time career and you're doing your side hustle, or you decide to make the transition and move 9 to 5, it's possible. It's just you have to have a plan and a strategy, and you can do whatever you put your mind to it. So that's why I really wanted to become a coach, and I really find it very fulfilling to see everybody move forward in a way that they want to be moving forward, because not everybody has the same dreams as being as big as you want to be. Some people just want to be able to have that freedom and that flexibility. And I think for me, that's really what I wanted to be doing as well. I wanted to have some of that and really help people to see what was possible for them.
Hmm. Yes. So you've had, I believe you said over 20 years of experience in
Mm-hmm.
business systems.
Yes.
Um, and that's, if I'm understanding correctly, that's what you offer in your programs, helping people in that field.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So one of, I guess, my sweet spots, or my, everybody talks about your zone of genius, is I really love process mapping and business strategy and how to get from A to Z, right? And I've done that, and that's what I did in my corporate job. Was really just a lot of process and systems, and laying not just the strategy and the process, but also including the technology, because
Hmm.
one of the things that we all know is that we're going to need some level of technology in our businesses, but it's finding the right one that's going to work for you. Because
Hmm.
there's lots out there, and when you Google, you will find lots of stuff about, oh, how to do this and where to go here, and you should use this. But remember, when you're Googling, it's like the law of abundance, right? So when you start to like put stuff out into the universe, lots that stuff comes back. So the more you Google about how to do X, well, you're gonna see more of those things. And sometimes ads, right? Like that's how it works. You're gonna just see more of that, those things. And so what I always say is get your process first, and then pick your technology, and pick the right one that's for you. That's super.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah.
So, so you have a couple of programs. I was just curious about simplify and apply. That's your motto.
That's my.
And I love that because that's all I want in life is things to be simple. So
Yeah.
what exactly is the business success system?
So I think it really depends. So I do a lot of customization, but it really depends on where you are in your business. But really, it comes down to three main things that I think is really important. One thing is really the first part, which is the vision. What are you trying to accomplish? And so we kind of work on that, and we'll do the map, what I call the map, or the blueprint. And so that could be, for example, I want to map out my customer journey from the time, right before, I'm doing my marketing and I want to, I have my client. Now what? What's the next step? I've got my client. They're ready to buy. They're, for a coach, they are buying my services, or maybe you're selling a product. What now? And so what's the next step for you? Okay, do you have to send them a contract? Well, maybe. Do you
Yeah.
have the contract? Well, maybe. And then how are they going to get paid? Okay, well, because you want to get paid, right? Well, well, you want to get paid for
Yeah.
your services, right? That's why you're in business. And then what's next? And then, of course, not everybody buys from you. So, but there may be a not yet, right? They may just be like, hey, I'm not ready yet. And that's okay. So, what do you do with those folks that are the prospects that are then not yet? Do you have a nurturing sequence? Maybe you have email marketing. Maybe you don't need email marketing. It really just depends on where you are. And so we build out that process. I do a lot of what I call customer journey mapping, blueprinting, which is, hey, I've done the marketing. They said yes, or I got them on a discovery call, or, whatever conversation. And now I need to know what to do with them and move them through a process, right? So that you can convert them from somebody who knows you, but somebody who knows your client. And then the other thing is that you're going to really want to do, okay, so now they're finished, right? They bought the product or they finished the service. Okay, so what do you do with them then?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And yes, you want to keep nurturing them, right? Because you're going to have other products. You have a Facebook group. I mean, the list can go on and on with all the different things that are possible. And so you just have to decide, and this is why I always say do the system first, because
Mm-hmm.
then you can pick whatever piece of technology you want. And remember, that technology has to be one that you love. Some
Yeah.
people don't love Instagram. Some people love Facebook. Use the one that you're going to use and that you love, but also where your client is,
Right. That's
right? So if your
important.
client isn't on Instagram, I'm not saying don't be on Instagram, but I'm just saying, well, then where are they? And for some people, social media, their client doesn't hang out on social media, and that's totally fine. They're more in networking groups,
Mhm.
or they're in different things. It just really depends. And so I think that's where I see a lot of when you become your first, you know, you you become your own business owner. It's like I have to be everywhere,
Yeah.
and that's not true. You need to be some places, but you need to be the places where your client is going to be, your ideal client. And so you have to do a lot of that journaling and thinking and planning. And then you can use the tools, and then you can be very consistent. That's what's going to set you up for success.
Yeah. Yeah. Good information. A
Yeah.
lot of people don't think about that. They're just everywhere because they feel like they need to be everywhere. And then they get overwhelmed with being everywhere, and
Mhm.
it's just a disaster. Then you're nowhere.
Well, then you don't do anything, right? We are in
Exactly.
total inaction at that point. Because what ends up happening is the squirrel will happen. This is my analogy. The squirrel will happen, which is the procrastinator. And that squirrel will go around and be like, ooh, I need this. I need that. And you will never get anything that you're supposed to get done. And then the gremlin comes in and it's like, oh, yeah, see, I told you so. See, it wasn't going to work.
Mhm.
And then you don't do anything, right? And so I feel like that's why I always say success is super important, but you have to set yourself up so that you can be consistent and that you have a process in place so you know what you're going to do, right? So if you do get lost and overwhelmed, you'd be like, oh, I know how to do this, right?
Yeah.
Step one, step two, step three, and then you can go back to that. because we know what happens, and I probably have an idea here, right? I have lots of sticky notes, right? Well, those become stacks of stickies, and then I
Right.
lost my own process. So I'm not, I get it. We all are in that place. We're not perfect, and we don't want to be perfect, honestly.
Right.
We want to be us, we want to be authentic, and we want our process to work for us.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I want to kind of go back a little bit because
Uh-huh.
we get to talking about what you do because I'm so intrigued by that too. But so going back to the leaving your corporate job,
Mhm.
um, do you recall at that time like anything that was a big hurdle for you in making that transition that, looking back now, you're like, oh, that wasn't as scary or as difficult as I thought?
I think a lot what happens around imposter syndrome.
Let's go there.
So let's go. Let's just definitely go there. So imposter syndrome, right? Because there is such an identity. And because I worked in corporate for very like many years, I had this identity, right? Of who I was and how I showed up and all those things. Well, when I transitioned, that was the part where I was like, oh, um, well, your identity kind of can change, sometimes. And so I always just felt like because I had made this transition, I'd been in my job for quite a long time, that I personally had this thing about, oh, well, now you're a coach, right?
Hmm.
And well, what does that mean about you? And it doesn't really mean anything about you. That was the biggest hurdle. It's like I was still me. I was still doing what I was doing. It was just in a different capacity, helping different people. And that was just like that was probably the biggest hurdle, was that imposter syndrome. I think second to that was really just figuring out what I really wanted to be doing, right? Like how did I really who did I really want to help, and how do I want to help them? I think that was the other thing that I was doing as well. But I was going through getting my certification at the
Hmm.
same time that I was going through, I was learning while I was doing. And so,
Right.
even though I had everything that I needed to do, it was just like, when you're going to school and you're like having that other thing at the same time, that was probably the third thing. I just had so much on my plate. And so I was going a lot of different places. Oh, I see Dion is on here. Awesome.
Waving at Dion.
Yeah. Thanks, Dion, for joining. Yeah.
So yeah, you were juggling a lot, is what you were saying.
Yeah, I was struggling. Hmm.
Yeah. Um, I guess what helped you to stay focused and like stay on track with, the goal that you had?
I think it was just well, accountability. I had accountability folks, people who were also going through the same process as
Mm,
me. And so I think that was one big thing, was like we are all on the same journey going together, that we all knew that we had to get there. We all had to cross the line. So I think it was like, hey, where can we help each other out? How can we do that? And so that was one thing that was like super helpful. And then, just like I said, writing it down and saying, this is what I need to get done today, and making sure that I got it done, and just crossing it off as I was going.
yeah.
But you learn a lot too as you're going through the journey. And I will tell you that you will transition, and that's okay. And there'll be days where it won't feel like you're making lots of progress, but that's okay, right? I mean, it is totally fine that you don't make the progress, but you have people in your court. And that's why it's great to have people who are doing the things, or those people that can be like, hey, yes, you can. It is possible. What do you think? So get your tribe together of
Yeah.
those like-minded people who have your back, right? But also who will be honest with you and say, that probably doesn't make sense. Because you need some honesty as well. And then the other thing is don't just jump right into working. You have to have that time where you have self-care,
Yeah,
because
definitely.
you cannot burn out. It is super. So, I always say burnout, like when you're an entrepreneur, that is like something that happens because you're always trying to push, push, push. So you do definitely need to put in that time for you.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said that because I was literally thinking to myself about all the late nights that I'm just, grinding out because I
Mm-hmm.
have this creative moment and I don't want to lose that moment and I want to keep going. And I look up and I haven't eaten anything. It's late. I am still working my 9 to 5, so I have to probably go to bed so I can be productive in the daytime. But I just don't want to stop, and I have to force myself to have that me time and that space for
Mm-hmm.
rejuvenating and all that what you just said. So yeah. So did you transition like slowly transition into coaching, or did you just go cold turkey?
Well, I think I when I was starting my journey, um, I was I kind of took my time into doing clients, but I think one of the things that I did was because I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to be doing, um, and I was still kind of getting that certification, right? And and like I said, like you don't necessarily need coaching certification. I just wanted to have process, right? And that's the other thing. You're always going to be learning, and I think it's always good to get that feedback and do that. So for me, it was like, okay, what do I really want to be doing? So I think it wasn't probably 6 months um, that I was in that transition and building my foundation and seeing what I wanted to really be doing. And then I was taking on clients. I was
Hmm.
telling people what I was doing, and people
Right.
were interested. And then I started building it that way and building my network too, because at the same time, you're transitioning. And so you're building a different network of people,
Yeah.
and you're just doing those things. But when I transitioned, obviously it was in 2020, right? So April 2020. So there was lots going on in 2020, as we all know, right? Lots of
Yeah.
things were happening, and so lots of people were transitioning. And so I think it's okay to take your time,
Hmm.
and to think about what you're wanting to do. So that's why I said it's always good to have a plan.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody's situation is different, and some people have the opportunity to
Mm-hmm.
plan ahead of time and then go straight into it. Sometimes it's okay to slowly go into it the way you did. I did the same thing. So I mean literally the same story. I went through my certification and then started taking on clients at the same time. And I found that um trying to balance
Mm-hmm.
my time, my energy
Mm-hmm.
and staying fresh for my clients while working the 9 to 5 was a challenge. Did you see that to be the same thing?
I think mine was a little bit different because, well, I guess it's kind of the same because I was having to do different things and I was taking on clients. So I was having to relearn, okay, what was working for me. And at the same time, I had put a boundary earlier up front that I didn't want to work past a certain time frame. And that was just because previously in my other life, I would work until 10, 11, 12, midnight, 1 a.m.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, you're not going to do that, right? You're going to put your boundary together and you're not going to work past 6 or 7. Now, what I'm going to tell everybody here is that, again, there's going to be seasons when you may work 6, 7, 8 p.m. and that's okay, but that's seasons, right? You don't want that to be like your typical day, right? Where you're working in 8 to 8, 12 to 12, right? 12 hours a day. But there'll be times when you're going to be launching, stuff will be happening. You have like deadlines to meet. So I'm not saying like, but really set up your time, have the boundary so that you can fit everything that you need in. that you
Hmm.
want to have in. And as an entrepreneur, I think we forget that we're in control.
Yeah,
We're in control of
definitely.
our time, right? And I
Hmm.
think that's the thing that we don't realize is that we are so super in control. It's our business, our
Yeah,
deadlines, our clients. We can set the time frames.
yeah, and it's interesting. We talk about time. It's only so many hours in a day, but I found that I don't know where the saying came from. I heard it from my parents, but the more you do, the more you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so, though it was a lot going on because at the time I was teaching dance, I was coaching, I was, had my
Oh.
day job. I'm just like, how am I going to fit all this in? It worked. Setting boundaries for myself, having schedules, and knowing I have this time slot to do this. I'm not going to do this, and trying to stay healthy and look out, for myself and my eating and that kind of thing. But I was able to make it work because I had a plan, I had a schedule, and sometimes I would go wrong, but for the most part, it was doable, and it was just like, oh, I am capable of making this happen and being successful in this. So
Mm-hmm.
the more you do, the more you can do.
Yeah, it is true because if we say we're going to have a meeting and it's going to take 60 minutes, then it will take 60 minutes. If we say we only have 10 minutes, we can get it done in 10 minutes. So the
Yeah,
question is, how much time does it really take? And so it's really setting it up for you and then keeping that time frame.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that there's a couple of people making comments in the comments, and I forget that Instagram is like delayed, but I just wanted to address um, Dapper Way, no, the Perry Way, the Perry Way. Everybody doesn't have your best interests at heart. Sometimes we have to be careful who we're telling. I think you were referring back when she was mentioning having a support group, and
Mm-hmm.
having people that you're kind of bouncing things off of. And that's very true. But it's important too to make sure that you have people who have your best, who have your best interests at heart. And you don't want to tell your information to everybody, but your select people that you can talk to and that are going to give you good, sound advice.
Yeah,
What do you think?
I agree. Um, I think, get that inner circle of people that are, that you can bounce those ideas off of and have that. And then, um, you can tell, and that those people can be just all
Mhm.
different people, but sometimes the I always say the ones. You have those ones that are like, well, why are you doing that? Like, but they're just remember that those individuals that may come into your life that are there, they want the best for you, right? They're coming from, the protective and wanting to be able to help you, right? So I always think of it as they're there to help support you, right? It's not necessarily for them to be in the negative, right? I always think of
Right.
those, they're in the positive. They're there to support you, and we just need to realize that. And yes, I agree that you do need to, figure out who is in that tribe of people that you're going to tell those things to that you want to, like, especially if you're transitioning or doing some things that you're not ready to tell the world yet about.
Hmm. And you have to also remember too that a lot of people can't see past their own vision of like their experiences. And it's not their fault. They don't see your vision and they're not really supposed to. So you can just, accept what you say. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And keep moving.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and that's the thing is that you have a dream, right? And so some people may not be on that same path with you,
Yeah.
you know, and that's okay. It's
That's
totally
okay.
fine. It's okay. There's no judgment. No judgment.
Right. Right.
um,
Well, our 30 minutes went by super fast. I want to ask you two questions before I let you go.
yeah.
What what words of wisdom would you like to leave for anyone who is considering making a transition or I guess starting a business in general, whether it be part-time or taking the plunge full-time?
Mm. So I always think the best thing is one of the things is to find somebody or mentor or follow somebody or read about what you're trying to do and learn from them. And so sometimes that's jumping on a call and just having a discussion, right? And learning as much as possible about what you're trying to achieve. I think that instead of, I always think asking a lot of questions, because if somebody has done it before you, why reinvent the wheel?
Yes.
So that's like the one thing. So they're going to
There's no
tell you,
need
like,
to.
oh, well, and again, you can take it, delete it, reject it, right? It's their perspective. But remember, they're coming from their perspective. And there's like nuggets in every um, conversation that you have. The second thing is don't take too long, right? So do not get too stuck in the research of everything, right? Sometimes you do have to throw like you throw spaghetti on a wall and see if it sticks. Sometimes you got to throw spaghetti on the wall and see if it sticks.
Yeah.
And so you have to try it out, right? And the thing is that you have to get an action, right? It may not be the right, it might not always be the right forward movement, right? But you have to move forward, right? If you're standing still, you're not moving, right? So you have to make, so it is a little bit about choosing your adventure, but again, setting yourself up for success and then realizing, hey, if I go forward and I turn right and that wasn't it, okay, great. I have choices. I can turn right, I can turn left, I can go back,
Yep.
right? And so I think it's okay. But I would say the best thing is to reach out to somebody and talk about it. There's lots of but again, the other thing is find the right person too. That's important. Research them if you're gonna have a coach or something like that. But I always think that that is the best thing. And there's so much research now out there
Mm-hmm.
that you can do. So that's what I would say is really the nugget is get that accountability circle. Reach out with somebody who may be doing what you're doing or wanting to do and asking them questions. Lots of people would love to do that. And then the third thing is set yourself up for success and set up your foundation.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And then my last question,
Oh goodness.
what
Yeah.
what legacy or what mark do you want to leave in the world with your business or even with your presence?
Wow. That's pretty deep, Erica.
Oh, yeah. Why not?
Why not? I think what I want people to be left with is that everything is possible. Um, and Audrey Hepburn, I think that she was always somebody that, was somebody that I followed or whatever. And I feel like I'm possible, it's possible, and that you can have the success. So, and there isn't anything that's standing in our way of us being able to move forward. It is with, with having, it does take grit and some courage and some confidence as well, but you will learn those things. But what my legacy is that I want people to know that I am possible, which is her
Oh,
legacy.
I love that.
Thank you. It's not impossible. It's I'm possible.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I'm going to remember that myself.
You're so welcome.
All right, Stacey. So tell everyone where they can find you. Before you do that, I just want to make a point. If you are listening to this later and you want to reach out, definitely leave us a comment, follow us, ask questions. If I am not able to answer, I will make sure I can get it to Stacey. She will answer for you. So, Stacey, where can the people find you?
Well, you can find me on Instagram, Stacey Butler Co. Send me a message. I'm happy to answer any questions about business strategy, systems, technology. And then my website is stacybutler.co. You can find me there. So those are the two places.
Yay.
Yay.
All right. Wait, we have one comment before we go. Got to have that faith, size of a mustard seed, so small, but stay with it. Yes, very much so. That's all you
Yes,
need.
that's all
All
you need.
right.
All
I like
right.
to end on that note. Thank you so much, Stacy. I hope you
Thank
get to
you.
feeling better.
Yes, yes, it's fall weather. I'm loving it, So it's great. So thank you so much, Erica, for having me on. I appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. And guys, I'll see you next Wednesday, like we do every week at 7 o'clock for the next episode. So you guys take care until then.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.